All right, everyone, we're back. Episode 70, special one today. I'm really excited for. I've probably talked about this on the podcast a lot, but I'm here with Jordan Welker. You guys can see we got kind of an awkward one setup screen if you're watching on YouTube, but Jordan is actually the one that got me into lifting in college. That like kind of just convinced me to do strength training, took me under his wing, programmed for me. We'll talk about all of it on the pod, but ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Welker.
Hey, nice to meet you.
This is your first ever podcast appearance?
Yes.
All right, well, I'm pumped. So I I guess we'll start at like the beginning and then we'll get into all these stories because every once in a while on the pod, I feel like I reference stories from our college gym and like our college powerlifting club, and people don't like believe the stories or they think I'm exaggerating or fibbing or whatever, but all this stuff's real. I'm going to bring up some funny stories. A bunch of people from college sent in questions and topics and stuff. So I'm excited to bring them in. But how this all started, Jordan trained at the gym, our rec center, Heron Hall. We'll set it all up because we're going to reference Heron Hall a lot. That was our college gym. I started going before class at like 6:30 in the morning. I noticed the biggest guy in there, the strongest guy in there. And I was like, crap, I want to look like that. I want to do that stuff. And I approached him and it was just, he was like, yeah, sure. Show up at 6 in the morning. And I just started showing up at 6 in the morning. And that's kind of how we became friends, right?
I think the first thing you're kind of forgetting is I think I asked you, so he kind of creeped on me and my friend Jason at breakfast for a while there.
Oh, that is true.
You didn't
wait, Jason who?
Capello.
Oh, okay.
He
was
one of the wild.
Yeah.
So we would come in after lifting and we'd see him, Josh and his couple of friends just sitting there. They'd stare at us. So finally, the one day I was at the gym and I think he came early and I just came up, asked him and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, I play rugby for the college and all this and that. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I'm thinking about trying CrossFit. And I'm like, no, you don't. Try powerlifting. He's like, oh, what's that? And then I explained it. And then that's when he fell in love with it.
Yeah. And you started programming for me right away. And even like I met you in the spring and then we went on summer break and you programmed for me every month. You would send me a new Excel sheet. I just remember like getting that Excel sheet from Jordan. And it was like literally like my Bible. Like I would work in the summer at my lunch breaks. I would look at it. I would make notes. And like, I looked forward to it so much, like just like a big lift, like, I'm like, oh, the third week of this, I get to try to like max my squat or do something like that. I just remember printing that Excel sheet. It was just like my holy grail, like in the summer and when we came back to school. So I forgot about the CrossFit stuff. That's
which most my programming, it wasn't all that freaking hard. I just basically base it off the powerlifting table.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
So and I had a lot of conjugate, like it had a lot of like conjugate influence. You could tell like it was kind of your own method, but a lot of like we would have speed work, reverse bands, which you called it the future method at that time, which is what a lot of people called it. It's now just kind of people say reverse bands. First times I really ever got into deadlifting and that stuff. And but yeah, definitely a lot of like powerlifting chart, like you do like 6x4 and kind of like really like follow it, like the percentages and stuff like that. But yeah, I just remember how much I would look forward to getting that training plan every month. And it was seriously like, it was just my everything. It was so awesome. I actually will have to pull it up after the episode. I have them all saved still
really
on this computer right here. I have every single wave.
Oh, I gotta see how
it's funny to look back. Like it'll be so funny to look back at it.
You're like, what was I thinking on that one?
Right. But hey, I got stronger and I believed in it so much, and I got so much stronger from it.
And that's most of what weight training is. Believe in it, keep doing it consistently, and you'll make progress.
It's funny because
it's absolutely stupid.
Right. But it's funny because we both we were so obsessed with powerlifting, and I still love powerlifting, and I coach people in powerlifting and have a gym and stuff. But he does Highland Games now, and I do strongman. So we both bonded over powerlifting, and then now we kind of both found our own little
niche sport, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, powerlifting did create a very good base for both of our things.
100%.
So I mean, you talk. So one of the guys that was at the gym, Dom DeCiceris, it was interesting because he was the Olympic lifter of the gym, and whatever he would do accessory wise was powerlifting based. So we had the base of everything with powerlifting, and then you could just build off of that into strongman, or then with me, Highland Games. I just have to I just do a little bit more explosive stuff, which I'm sure you still do.
Right.
Explosive stuff, jumps, throws, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas Highland Games, that's all it is. The only real kind of static is picking up the caber, and that's about it. After that, then it's still dynamic.
That's what I like about strongman, and I'm sure you're the same way with Highland Games, but I get to train like more of an athlete again. Like you played sports growing up, I played sports, and like doing powerlifting, you don't have to train powerlifting as static as we trained it. Like you can do a lot of like farmers carries and stuff like that, but like I just love having different athletic events to train for and stuff now. It's just it's fun throwing stuff and running with stuff and jumping and sprinting. I like it so much more. We got even like towards the end of my powerlifting, like I got so statically strong and muscle bound. It just wasn't, I wasn't functionally strong at all.
When I was out in Missouri, lived out there for a little bit, I competed at Missouri Strongest Man and got second.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And that was a whole new ball game for that. I mean, the gym I was at, Iron Fortress, they had everything: sandbags, logs, yoke, all that type of stuff. But I mean, it was still new for me. Your one podcast, you're like, try novice, do all this and that. I was the one that did not do novice. I jumped straight to open middleweight.
It's easier when you have a base of strength though.
It was one of those, I saw the numbers and I was just like, I can hit them, or a little bit of prep, I can hit them type of thing. So I just wanted to try it, and it was a lot of fun. It's just now the gym I'm currently at is a little bit tough to do that, but I still plan on doing at least maybe one strongman comp a year. Maybe not this year, but going forward, be like, do one strongman comp and that's it. Or a year. So you
got to train at 580 tonight. What did you think of the gym for your first time seeing it in person?
Dude, it was amazing. I am so proud of you putting that all together.
I appreciate that. It's like showing you and Gray is like showing like my dad, it's like showing like your like dads, the people that like, I want Carrington to come see it too, and people that we'll talk about, but like, it's so fun to like have you back with like my new crew, and like have everyone in there. It was a perfect night for you to come because everyone was there and we had the full atmosphere. So,
and heck, I mean, it was like, I've never met any of them in my life, and I just bonded with most of them right away.
We have like, seriously, we have such a friendly, nice, helpful, just group of guys. Like we can cut up and talk shit like no other, but like honestly, when it's all said and done, like when it's time to like flip the switch and help each other and stuff, it's amazing like just the crew we have. So but so we started the powerlifting club, me, you, Gray, I think Carrington was really a big driving force behind it.
He was the first president.
Yeah. But we started the powerlifting club in college, and we actually have that one picture, the picture in the library in that room at one of our meetings.
Yes.
We had a huge club for a while.
I think we were between 20 and 30.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think we about touched 30 people.
We had a dude with 3 fingers on one hand.
Yeah. And like we ran 2 push pulls, and then we actually had 2 sanctioned meets ran at our college and
through RPS.
Yeah, through the RPS. And so we did that. And I'm trying to think what other like kind of how I want to go into like stories.
Basically trying to figure out a chronological order.
I mean, I had so much. It was so awesome when I posted this today, and people just send stuff and that just makes you laugh so hard because you remember it. Like I remember going to breakfast, like after we had our 6 a.m. crew, I remember when we go to breakfast after, and it literally became like, as I started to train more and, my appetite started to get bigger. I was probably 145, 150 pounds when I started. And as you strength train and everything, and so there would be probably like 8 to 12 of us go. And like, we would be like Sweaty Mike there and stuff. And it would be a bloodbath in that cafeteria to see who could eat the most. Every single morning. Like it was, Sweaty Mike sent me to remind me to bring up Haas burgers, because we'd make a custom, like the chef would make us a custom burger in the mornings, like a breakfast. Chef Joe. But like, I'm talking like, Sweaty Mike, he could eat more than We got a food challenge, but dude had washboard abs, but never seen him sit down, a human that can sit down at Chinese and eat a dozen egg rolls like him. But Jordan would go and grab 6 donuts and like a full plate of eggs and all this stuff. And Mike would go and grab 8 donuts and like more on his plate. And then I'd kind of try to go and get 10. And like, we'd see who could drink the most chocolate milks.
Okay, we're washing it down.
Chocolate milks that was a staple. Like I'd have 4 glasses of chocolate milk in front of me. And like, oh, it was just, I just remember like, and that's kind of been like the culture, like not just in eating, but like that crew that we had in college, like there would be no 580 because we had like the crew I tried to replicate at 580 in college. Like we had such a good training crew with everyone. Everyone kind of had their thing. Even if you didn't do powerlifting, like still help out, still were at the gym, stuff like that. So that like set, when I opened my own gym, it was like, this is what I want. I want to bring back this old school training, crew that, just push each other in every aspect, my favorite one.
Except now you're not getting fat.
Yeah. That's true. Jordan was what you competed, was 242 the heaviest you competed at?
So I would say in college, my heaviest was 220 that I competed in. And then after college, I competed 242, but I actually weighed, when I did 242, I was 233 when I weighed in at that, but bulking past that, I think my heaviest was 255. Yeah. I'm 5'9".
Right. So we're like the same exact height almost. And you got up to in the 250s. I got up in the 240s. Gray was like 330. And now Gray's 220. Jordan's what? 210. 210. I'm 175.
And I'm cutting down to 200 for Highland games. So.
We all just kind of like lost so much weight and do different stuff now. But so speaking of, I guess this is another story I want to tell. I get you were around when it was happening, but so I actually own a supplement company now. We're fully restocked with watermelon horsepower. Mixed berry will be here in about 2 to 2.5 weeks. So you guys can order watermelon horsepower. But in college, me and my roommate, and still to this day, one of my best friends, Tyler, we used to hand make pre-workout in little plastic Ziploc bags and then sell them in the gym. And like I was telling you before this, it's funny, like it's come full circle. Like I actually have, like you can see it in the background right there, but got like my own official supplements and stuff. So that was funny, selling pre-workout to like people in the gym.
And even change your formulation just so that like the varsity girls soccer team could use it and stuff like that, because they couldn't have too much caffeine in their system. According to NCAA regulations.
So we would go to my bedroom and we would buy huge tubs of Gatorade for the flavoring. And then we just bulk ordered like creatine, caffeine, beta-alanine, taurine. And we literally hand mixed it. We would weigh everything out by hand. And then the way we shook it, we literally just closed the Ziploc bag and shook it. And like thinking back, like some guys probably got like 600 milligrams of caffeine in one scoop. And then the next scoop, like 100, so like I still have that whole formula on that computer too. It'd be funny to look at that. But, the gym, going back to Heron Hall, it was so fun. Like it was so fun and special. There was a guy named Chuck Bond that ran it, and he ran it for probably like 30 plus years. Like he was there forever. Chuck was a legend at Cal, and he's since retired.
He was what there? He was hockey there when he was back in college.
I can't even remember.
Okay, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on
Chuck
that.
Chuck was the old guy that ran the gym, and he's doing well in retirement now. Listens to vinyls and posts them on Instagram. But he kind of kept us all in check. And so we'll probably mention Chuck a couple times if we do. He was like the big boss of the gym that ran it. I was a manager of the gym later on. So was Gray. We would work at the gym and we also lifted there. And there's just so many stories. And I'm looking through this list and I'm just trying. The first show we ever ran, we ran a push-pull. Jordan pooped his pants on his max ever deadlift.
Yep.
That was it 585 or was it 600?
It was 545.
545?
Yep.
I couldn't remember what it was.
5 plates and a quarter. But the funny thing about that, so of course I got done. It was such a grinder. You know how like you're in the zone, stuff like that. You don't really hear anything. I came out of that zone and still heard people yelling for me.
It may have been one of the longest clean reps I've ever seen. Like no hitching or anything.
Yeah.
Like it was, and I remember I'm standing right there, like 3 feet away, because we were training partners. Like I'm sure we were helping each other out and stuff. And you got done and you looked at me and you said, "I just shit my pants." I thought he was joking. And
I went straight to the bathroom.
Went straight to the bathroom.
The thing was, they were out of toilet paper at the bottom bathroom. So I had to walk past everyone else up to the top by the basketball courts and go to that bathroom.
And that was like one of my first intros, like a powerlifting meet, like this dude shitting his pants. And it's just so funny. I remember that. You know, one good one, Carrington will appreciate this. It got sent to me by a girl that was in our club. We used to, so now there's a million nose torques, right? And this reminds me how broke we were in college. We used to go to Dollar General, me and Carrington. You remember what I'm going to say? And we used to buy the actual tubs of ammonia.
The liquid ammonia.
Like liquid, big, like, what is that? Like a gallon jug?
Yep. Basically like toilet bowl cleaner.
Yeah. Essentially toilet bowl cleaner. And we would keep that at the gym. And that was our smelling salt, lemon ammonia. And we actually have pictures. If you go on my Instagram, there's a picture of me deadlifting and there's just a jug of lemon ammonia right in front of it. And that was Carrington's doing. It was like, I'm pretty sure it was $1 or maybe $2 at Dollar General. And we did that instead of nose torque.
And legitimately, it wasn't like at the gym. He would, at the first couple RPS meets that he did, he would take it up to the bench platform, sit there, sniff it, put it down, and then bench. And literally the whole crowd is like, what is he doing?
Yeah, looking at us like we're crazy. And we weren't super hardcore. Like we weren't like a West Side, but like definitely there were some people that like Gray. Like I always tell this story, and if he was on here right now, he would remember the exact sets and reps. But this is one of my favorite stories of all time. We were training. This is when I didn't train at 6 a.m. It was like later on. I don't know if you were graduated yet or like my schedule. I just had to train in the afternoon with him and Goku and some other people.
Mm-hmm.
And a kid, I'm not going to mention his name on the podcast. I don't want to call him out, but he asked us to train with us. And like, sure, like, but you got to do like our training program. Like, and you like, you know, we don't miss days. We train these 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the kid's first ever deadlift day with us. And I want to say it was supposed to be 3 sets of 4 on deadlift. And he dropped it on his third rep and walked away. And Gray goes, what the F are you doing? And he's like, I'm just going to pull triple. He's like, no, we're doing 3 sets of 4 at this percentage. And he's like, oh, I'm not doing that. He goes, well, then you're not training with us. And the kid, you know, whatever, I think he thought Gray was joking. And we show up the next time to train. And Gray goes, what are you doing? He's like, you're not training with us. You did 3 sets of 3, not 3 sets of 4. It's just so great. Like, this is how crazy of a person Gray is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, at the time I kind of thought like that too. And like, but it was just like, we put our program together, and I'm going to say that next, but, and it meant so much to Gray. Like I was telling you, like how much Jordan's programming meant to us. So like, it was like our everything. And, Gray goes, no, you're not training with us. He's like, yeah, I am. No, you're not. And he's like, well, what do I do? He goes, you have to go outside and fight me. He's like, you have to go outside. He's fight me and you can train with us. And the kid thought he was joking and got in his face, and he wasn't joking. And that kid never came around again. It's just,
see, I probably would have remembered that if I was still in school. So my guessing is
it was probably at the very end.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just such a funny story. Like, I don't want to say like we were like 100% hardcore, but do you remember Kelsey puking on the platform?
Yep.
That got sent in. Kelsey Gavlik, who was in our
powerlifting club. During the push pull, or was that just a normal training they were maxing out?
I think it was just a normal. I might be wrong.
I think it was during like normal training.
Yeah, we were just yeah.
Because I think that was the day Carrington, I think, might have tried to go like 600.
570. I know he pulled, like that was a huge number.
Okay, I thought he was going to try, and I thought he was going for 600 that day, but I think he hit a PR, but I don't remember what he maxed out. But yes, I do remember Kelsey.
Yeah, Kelsey puking was hilarious. So this one got sent in a couple of times. I'm just hoping we're past the statute of limitations. I think we are. But so I mentioned we started our powerlifting club in college, and we were all graduating, and it was basically like we knew the powerlifting club wasn't gonna like it. It was all of us. Like Jordan was gone, I'm leaving, Carrington's leaving, Gray's pretty much gone. He still lives in Cal, but like he's not gonna be at the school. Basically, all of us were graduating, going our separate ways. So we had all this cash for our powerlifting club, like, and it's like, well, we're not going to give it back to the school and be like, pass it along, because there's not going to be a club next year, you know, like F the man type thing. So the last ever sanctioned show we had, we're like, we're going to just go out after and we're going to ring up like a hell of a bar tab, like a hell of a bar tab. And it's just going to be the club money. It was like, t-shirt sales, maybe some fundraisers we did, sponsors, and we went to a local bar, J. Cool's, and we rang up a doozy. And Carrington handed him a wad of cash. And thank you to all our sponsors and t-shirt sales and everything like that, because you guys paid for college kids to have a hell of a night. And that was kind of like our send-off. It was awesome. Like it was like
post the RPS meet.
Yeah, RPS Inferno 2.
Yep.
And so we went to the bar. I don't even want to know what that bill was. I mean, for college kids, it was huge, we were just anyone that was affiliated with our club, buy them a drink. And
I was doing $5 buckets in the cranberry vodka
buckets. But I got up on a table in the bathroom, or I don't know if it was in the bathroom or on the floor, on the dance floor, and I stone cold 2 beers. And there's a picture of me somewhere, and I gotta find it. But it's just 2 beers, just stone cold, and that got sent in a couple of times. But don't want to get in any legal trouble. Hopefully, we're past the statute of limitations. Sorry for anyone that we would make mad about that, but
because I think that was the first time that at Inferno 2 we met Swede Burns.
Yeah.
He brought a bunch of his lifters, keyhole barbell guys there.
Yeah. But those are just some of my favorite. I'm trying to think of, like, there's so many I can go on and on, but it gets really like inside. But the spending all our club's money on alcohol, like for our send off, was just literally my favorite thing ever. Like,
yeah,
that's
I don't think you could top that.
No, that was a great story. We used to have when we were all bulking, so our college had, if you guys know Cal U of PA, I'm sure most of you guys that are listening do. It's like such a little isolated town. I think when we went there, there was like 3, if you count loggerheads, like four restaurants you could go to in the whole town without going through a toll or taking this crazy back way.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chinese place that's no longer there, from what I hear, you could go there for lunch, $5 flat, right?
Yep.
And Sweaty,
include taxes,
yes,
whatever.
Sweaty Mike's just salivating right now. So Sweaty Mike, I said it earlier, but like washboard abs, like a true like 8-pack.
Yeah.
But the worst diet I've ever seen. But
we must have been the sweatpants that he always wore.
Yeah, that's how he got the name Sweaty Mike.
Burned it all off wearing the sweatpants.
He was my first ever friend I made in college.
Really?
Met him the first day. Yeah. But so we would go there, a group of us, like I said, $5. You could eat as much as you wanted. And she would even, if you wanted to go, she would give you a brown paper bag. You could take it to go. So all these guys like that are into lifting, and you could go and just sit in this Chinese place all day for $5.
And it wasn't like it was like a short lunch. It wasn't like 11 to 1. No, it was, I'm pretty sure, like 10:30 till 4.
Yeah, you could just sit
like
there.
6 hours that you could eat lunch there.
And I'm sure we had days where we sat there for three hours.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I've seen Sweaty Mike in a sitting eat over 20 egg rolls. As Dakota's listening, I know he can attest to it. But I never seen a kid that can eat them. We have this food challenge coming up this week. It was, I guess when this released, it was yesterday, but the video will be out hopefully this week, where we try to eat as many calories as we can between a couple of us. But I've never seen a human that can eat like Mike. Never. I mean, I'm just saying, like a dozen donuts at breakfast with like a full meal along with it was just normal.
And like
for
a quart of milk.
Yeah, it was just normal for
him.
I love that guy so much.
But you're also got to remember that $5, you're not getting like a full, like freaking Chinese buffet type thing. It was like General Tso's chicken, sweet and sour chicken, and like one other type of chicken, white rice, fried rice, and like wings, and like a couple other veggies. And it was like 10 different things, but you could literally just keep piling your plate.
Mike Reese told me to I'm looking through some of our Instagram questions now, and he said, tell the story about Chuck's secret lair. I hope Chuck doesn't get mad if he listens to this, but
it's not his secret lair anymore.
Yeah, that's true, but I just don't want to, But so Chuck ran the gym, and one day, I don't know if it was me and Mike Reese who sent in that question, or me and Gray, or who I was working with. But Chuck, we're sitting there, and he had an office downstairs. Everyone knew where Chuck's office was. He said, hey, go up to my office and get me so-and-so. We're sitting at your office. What are you talking about? He's like, no, my real office up in the basketball gym, go in the closet and go up the steps. And I worked at this gym, trained in it for like, 5 years, whatever. I'm like, oh my God. So we open this closet and there's like an old stairwell that leads upstairs. And we found out Chuck for like 30 years had a secret lair with like a full bed, couch, shower, food, spitters everywhere. And it was just the funniest thing ever. We just find this secret room in the gym that's like no one ever knew where it was. You didn't even know where it was till tonight when I told you about it.
I didn't even know.
It was the funniest thing ever.
It was also funny with Chuck. A couple times, like Cal U was so strict. Like if you didn't have like a pass or if your card didn't work or anything like that, they wouldn't let you in.
Oh, it was a tight ship.
Well, I just walk in and be like, "Hey, Chuck." Or like the year after I graduated, I came in to help her, lifted like a couple times with them. And I was like, "Hey, Chuck." He's like, "Let him in. He's good."
Yeah.
Like, thanks, Chuck.
Chuck, he did so much for our powerlifting club, like letting us do stuff. Shut down the gym for a full day, a couple times in the years we were there to run the push pull.
Mm-hmm.
Donated all the plates from the gym for our actual sanction shows for the warm-up room, along with bars.
Yeah.
So like he did so much for us. Chuck was the man. Anyone from college listening knows who Chuck is, and he was the man. And Brenda helped us so much too.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny at one time when I was the manager. Gray worked my shift with me. Joey was the graphic designer for the gym, and Tyler was an assistant at the gym. So like we had just a total chokehold on the operations of the gym.
I still remember like 6 a.m. when I was lifting or whatever, and Gray had like the 6 a.m. shift. He'd just be pushing his broom, just walking around.
This is one I forgot to bring up when we were talking. So this is my favorite story. I didn't tell you about it before because I want to bring it up.
Okay.
But I used to be, so before I managed the gym, I would, what's the little thing called when you work at the front desk in a dorm? Can you like check guests in and out?
I
forget what the name was, but like I was a desk assistant basically. But you just sat in a room and like my shift, I worked midnight to 8 a.m. And I just did it one day a week. And Jordan and Gray, you remember this?
Mm-hmm.
At midnight came in for weeks and weeks, and we would sit down and we thought we were like revolutionary, because we all were like starting to get well read. Jordan was the most well read. Gray was second. I was kind of third.
Well, Gray was also going for
exercise science.
Yeah.
And we created a method called the Weldrickson Method. So it was
we tried with Henwelson.
Yeah.
First.
But I think we decided on Weldrickson. So it was Welker, Drick, Hendrickson, and then Son for some Gray's last name. It was all our last names put together, Weldrickson Method. And we ran it for a while, the method.
It was a bastardized version of like the cube, conjugate.
We kind of took all our influences from the time, like 5-3-1, the cube, and conjugate, and put it in our own training program. And we ran it for a while. But I just remember just these guys like showing up. We'd all have our notebooks, and it was just a round table of us three, and we would just like develop our own training method. We weren't like pioneering anything. It was just what we liked, and we put it all together. And
and while we were doing it was back when Ed Cohen was like, "Oh, you need to work your pinky strength so that you can hold on to the barbell." So we would all be sitting there with like the paper clip things and working on our finger strength.
Oh, I remember doing that. I remember taking them into my shift, and I would do it for like 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That is so funny. But that's like one of my favorite training stories of all time. It's just sitting down, like it's just you meet all these like-minded people, and like I try to like younger lifters that are coming up like through my gym or that I talk to, like I try to instill like what you instilled in me is like read, like know what you're talking about. Like you see my books up, like all those West Side books up there and conjugate books and stuff, and like it was Jordan was like, I'll help you, but you need, like, I'm gonna lead you to water, and then you're gonna need to learn how to fish on your own. Like I'll program for you, but you need to understand like why I'm doing this. And like if you coach someone, you need to understand like you're not just throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks. Like you need just remember like reading all the Elite FTS and like the books and stuff. And like we haven't even really talked about in the pod, but like Louis passing away, obviously, like guys like us, like we worship Louis. Like we'd sit at my house and just talk like, hey, like, did you see this in the bench manual? you know, and like, what do you think about trying this?
Or it won't even be in the bench menu or something like that and be like, oh, did you watch this West Side video that they tried this? I was just like, oh crap. And say we could throw that in there or all that type of stuff.
I just thought about a story I can't tell. But yeah, so like that's what I try to instill in like kids coming up now is like do your homework. Don't just do something because it's like trendy or you see like a dude with like silly glasses on Instagram doing, you know, like, you know, do your research. And like, especially now, like in 2022, there's so much free content out there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Louis, I told it once on here, but I won't tell again. We were talking before the pod. I think Carrington actually did it. Like Carrington called Louis or sent him an email or something. It was like, hey, we have a powerlifting club. Like we're taking sponsorships. And like it was a big debated thing. Did we put Westside on our shirts or not?
We did.
We did?
Yeah.
Like, so Louis sponsored our club. But so Carrington must have reached out to him. And like, you know, we were just getting like local bars and stuff and never thought Louis would actually sponsor our club. But shows up to Carrington's house, a huge box. Oh my, I can't even tell you what, 30 manuals?
Something like that.
30 manuals, probably 5-10 weightlifting belts. What straps
and say I don't know if it was a pair of bands all the way up to like from minis all the way up to
a whole band set. I mean, probably like if you actually look at the retail, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And Louis just I think had a note in there for us like stay strong or something.
Put this to good use, stay strong or something like that.
Yeah, and like it's just so crazy. We haven't touched on Louis passing away at all, but like I'm so happy that we got to go out and train at Westside a couple times and meet Louis and
heck, the one time we went out there, we were just gonna do a walk around and Lou was like, what are you doing? This is a gym. So I squatted in jeans. I did a speed squat, like the infamous monolift in jeans. And luckily I had my chucks in my truck. So I just threw my car. So I just threw my chucks on and squatted in jeans and my t-shirt.
Yeah.
So.
I remember like, so we go to we walk into West Side we knew Tom Barry, who's Tom's, I guess, you know, Tom's the head guy.
Gray knew him I would say.
Gray talked to him a lot. I talked to him a decent amount. We went to his seminar. But you know, we walk in and Louis sitting at the reverse hyper leaned over on it. Remember that? Like, and we all walk in and like, to me, that's like, you know, like a teenage girl meeting like, you know, the Jonas Brothers or something.
Yeah.
I see him and I'm like, hey, Louis, you know, and Louis looks at us and just like Jordan said, he goes, what the hell are you guys doing? I'm like, oh, we just came to visit. He's like, aren't you training? I go, we can train. He goes, it's a gym, isn't it? You know, like he was just so, I don't have many Louis stories, but like that day was seriously probably my favorite training day in my life. I hit the biggest triple I've ever hit raw to that date and on bench. And I got up and people know me. I talk a lot, like jokingly. And I get up and I said, what do you think about that, Louis? And he said, you're not strong enough getting on my women's board. And I was, you know, like, oh, I got such a hoot out of it. And he made fun of us again for the women's board because we were at the end of the training. We're like, Louis, can we get a picture with you? And I was posing for my single picture with him, and it was in front of the women's board. He said, it's good you do in front of the women's board instead of men since you're so weak. That's what he said to me. And it was just like, he was so honest. Yeah. And he only cared about lifting. I remember him asking us our numbers. Like, you know, that's all he cared about.
And he honestly cared. It didn't matter if you were 100-pound squatter or 1,000-pound squatter. If you asked him a question and he had the answer, he was going to give it to you.
Yeah. But Louis literally, like that quote's going around a lot, born whenever, died never.
Yep.
And that's so true. Like Louis will never die. And I can't think of a death that will happen in strength and conditioning that's more influential than Lou dying. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean,
point probably Phil Hatfield.
Yeah,
Fred Hatfield.
Sorry, I have his book up there too. Okay. But yeah, just to tie it back into the club, like, and Louis passing away, he walked the walk, man. He sent us that whole box and sponsored our powerlifting club. Just a bunch of us. Just, I'm thankful that I got to meet him, and you know, his education will live on forever.
And me and Josh I was that night that he died, I texted him, hey, did you see this and stuff like that? And I could have swore that I didn't have a picture with Lou. And Gray's like, you dumbass. Yes, you do. Yeah. And then I finally found it and stuff like that. And if you actually look at my profile picture, that's when I made it. But also at the same time, I was just like, I can't remember. I'm like, I remember the group picture, but I didn't remember any single, but I ended up actually getting a single picture with him. But
yeah, I some people just like randomly ask questions about like college. This is a good question. What was, and like people I'm sure can relate, what was your favorite meathead exercise to do looking back? Like, do you ever have like a thing to, I know mine, but like mine was running the rack. Like for arms,
yeah,
you would like start at like the 15s and do like, 6 to 8 curls and then go up to the next one and then come all the way back down. Everyone had like that one bro exercise
I
they
think
love to do.
mine was just like 21s.
21s. That's
Yeah.
I feel like that's a common one. Comment on the YouTube video if you're listening on YouTube what your favorite meathead exercise was, because I'd be curious to hear like what people, because it's so funny. There's like that like group of like 5 to 10 exercises like every bro did,
Mhm.
and that's a really good question.
That or even just stupid drop sets
Yeah.
or something like that.
What was the point that made you get into lifting? What made you get into lifting?
So I played baseball in high school, then I tried out for the college team. I didn't make the actual varsity team, but I played the club team for 2 years. But I got into, when I got to college, I was just like, still like baseball and stuff like that, but I just didn't quite have the love for it anymore. And then I read an article. It was in Muscle and Fitness or Strength Fitness, Muscle and Strength, whatever magazine or something like that. The front page was Derek Poundstone holding this stone, and in the book or in the magazine, it was the guy had the Juggernaut Method, Chad Wesley Smith. Read that, and I was just like, oh, okay. And then in the same magazine, it also had an article about Chuck Vogelpohl, and that was just blew my mind that there was a human that could squat 1175, 1025 at 220 pounds body weight. Now that was before I knew that there's
gear.
There's gear, but still having that on your back, even like deadlifting with a suit probably doesn't help as much as what most people think. But I mean, still pulling 800 against bands in training and stuff like that. And I was just like, I didn't know people could get that strong, because I would always grow up watching World's Strongest Man. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Genetically, I'm not able to do that. Right. So, but it was,
that's how I got into it, but on a lesser scale. Like I was playing rugby, and I was like one of the smaller guys on the team. So I just like naturally, like I'm like, I'll go to the gym and just do like a bro split, and like try to get bigger. And then I saw guys like this, and I was like, I remember I still, it's on my Facebook. It pops up my memories once a year. Your 495 squat in the blue slingshot knee wraps.
Yep.
And I remember coming home and telling everyone
I was in blue shorts and red slingshot.
Oh, red slingshot. Yeah.
Yep. It was at Lily Bridges at the time.
Yeah. And I remember telling everyone at the gym, I'm like, my training partner at college squats 495. Like, that was like the biggest thing ever to me. And like, and it's just like, I saw these guys. I'm like, I want to get strong like that. And that's how I really got into it.
And the funny thing was, like, each, like, going up through, you always had that dude that was always stronger than you. So like when I came in, that was Zach Petrick.
Oh yeah.
So I was always trying to match Zach. Dude, he was on another level.
Yeah, Zach. Well, like that's, I didn't even touch on that, but like at one point in our gym, we had some really impressively strong guys.
Oh,
like even like they would be like impressive right now, like in competitive powerlifting.
Yeah.
Like Zach was on another level. Zach Petrick trained at our gym, and I remember him hitting in the gym 600 for reps.
Mm-hmm.
And he would pull in the sixes for reps too.
Yep. Heck, he was even
best squatter I can ever remember watching in a gym.
His form was impeccable.
But he was one of those guys. I remember like it took me the courage to ask him, and I'm like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? And he'd be like, Zach had no science or anything behind it. He was like the complete opposite of Jordan. I remember him sending me a text. He's like, one day do some doubles, and then like the next week do a heavier double, and then the third week add bands. And I was like, why? He's like, I like doing heavy doubles. And that's it. I'm like, do you just do them for everything? He's like, yeah, pretty much. I'm like, what do you do after? He's like, whatever I feel like it. Sometimes I just leave.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he was such a freak. Like when you're 18 and you're watching someone squat in the sixes for reps, and like squat in the sixes for reps, like Barry reps. Zach took 2 or 3 years off from powerlifting and came back and did 110 person meet. RPS Inferno too.
Yep.
And he won best lifter to me.
You can say, I know he benched like 440 or 450 or something like that.
Yeah, at 220, he was benching mid fours. He was pulling upper sixes and squatting probably sevens, close to seven at least.
Sixes for sure.
Yeah.
Close to seven. Yeah.
And
it's just like,
yeah. And so that's like, those are the type of guys we had in it. Rest in peace, Brian Smith. If you remember Brian Smith, he's passed away. He walked in. So he was like typical bodybuilder dude. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, I want to do your push pull. So I'm like, okay. And he walks in, he tries opening at 400, which we didn't make or 405, which we didn't make a rule that you couldn't drop the weight that after your first. Oh yeah. On bench. You're talking about on bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he comes in, didn't know that he had to pause. So no doubt in my mind.
Bench is 405, but doesn't pause.
Yeah. But we're like, yeah, go ahead. And he touches or pauses 385 like it's nothing.
Ends up pulling 600.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. And, you know, when we say that, we're pulling on stiff bars, you know, like we're just using gym beater bars.
Yeah.
But man, just the level of strength that we had around. Jordan was super strong. Carrington towards the end got a super strong deadlift. Even like Goku, he little short, my little buddy I used to train with, and like still keep in touch with him here and there. But like he was squatting in the fives.
What? Do you remember Dana?
Dana Horner. Dana Horner was probably pound for pound the strongest kid ever in that gym.
Oh, easily.
148, pulled over 6.
Yep.
Squatted over 5, and bench 3s.
Yeah.
At 148.
And it's just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And because I would look at my starting form, and then he'd be pulling from a deficit, and he'd have the same starting form as I would have off the floor. I'm like, oh my, the kid had genetics that like worked for his advantage. It was great to watch.
Yeah, that's just what I'm saying. Like we had just that golden era where it was just, there were so many freaks. Just having like, and that, I mean, you look back at it, that made me so much better. Like it makes you so good.
And we're not even talking about the dudes that were bodybuilders that didn't even train at the same time, because there was
some monsters.
There was 2 kids. One, he was 6'3", 6'4", 275 with abs type of thing. There was another kid that was bigger than him. So one day I couldn't lift in the morning for some reason. So I came at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon or something like that. So I came up, I started doing, I can't remember if I was doing block pulls or if I was doing shrugs. I think it was block pulls, and I was doing 315, which at the time was like, whatever. This dude comes up. He's like, hey, do you mind if I work in with it? I'm like, yeah, sure. Comes in, double overhand grips, doesn't even hook grip it, shrugs it for like 15 reps. And he's like, thanks, man, and just leaves. So I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just like, that was freakish, but they never did any like push pulls. So we never got to see how strong they were, because I know the one kid, he was doing 315 on incline for sets of 10.
Yeah.
I was just,
But the last thing I want to say before we wrap it up is one of my favorite things about
God, we have so many stories.
We'll have to do it was I mean, we can just hop on Zoom and do it, but
yeah.
And we'll have to throw Gray in here, and if Carrington wants to come on, some other people too. But was our Arnold trips. Yeah. Like going to the Arnold every year was like, that was like the Mecca. You know, go up on Friday, come home Sunday night after, and like just meeting these guys that like at the time were just like heroic to us, you know, and like
we trained at Matt Wenning's gym. Got to meet
Matt Wenning at Texas Roadhouse.
So because I met him at the Arnold, got a picture with him, and then we were going to Texas Roadhouse after, and he was on the phone with his mom outside the restaurant, and we were just kind of like standing there like, oh crap, that's like Matt Wenning.
And Matt, no shade on Matt Wenning, but he was broke. This is pre-belt squat. This is 2014.
I thought he was already had the stuff with the military.
He was the point a little bit, but not like he does now. Because I remember we had to pay him decent amount to come by and train, because he told me like having trouble keeping the lights on and stuff. And so Matt was so good to us. If you guys don't know who Matt Wenning is, look him up. He's one of the biggest coaches in the world now for strength sports. Does a lot with the military, fire departments. He really was one of the ones, him and Louis popularized the belt squat.
Yeah.
And Matt has his own version. And But Matt was so good to us. You know, he had guys coming in, he had crews coming in and paying hundreds of dollars for a weekend seminar. And Matt would just open his doors to us because we came early on before anyone was paying him for seminars. And he would open his door to us. You know, hey, come by. I'm doing a seminar, not
Buy a
charge us.
t-shirt, all that thing.
Yeah. And we train at 6 a.m. with Matt. And we have so many, like the Louis story was at the Arnold. Matt was at the Arnold. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Met, you know, obviously you meet like Ed Cohn and stuff, but it was just fun, all of us going and having like a weekend together. Jordan was the one had to sleep on the floor at the hotel room the one year. That's Gray's favorite story. He's laughing right now.
That was watching my buddy compete at the XBC championship, and Josh was like, yeah, you can crash with us. We just don't have enough space in the beds. I'm like, I can sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
So I get back at like midnight, 1 a.m. from Buffalo Wild Wings. And I was like, okay, everyone's asleep. So I grab, like on hotels or whatever, they have like the thin sheet or like kind of like decorative thing on top. So I grabbed that from them because they weren't having it. It was all stuffed on the floor, and I actually like laid down and used that as my blanket.
Oh yeah. That hotel room, every hotel room we got for the Arnold was as cheap as possible. Like it was,
you had to go outside a certain radius, even then, like it was still kind of expensive.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, we had hotel rooms we stayed in that were $30 a night, and we had 6 of us in it. You know, like it was so funny. But we were broke in college. But the Arnold was my favorite memories. We all got to go back one of these years once it gets like really back to normal, you know, like it's crazy. I was telling you, they didn't have an animal cage this year.
Yeah.
Like the animal cage is like a staple. We used to basically go in and beeline it to the animal cage.
So we could get to the front.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the first ones I was there, I did not leave. I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I stood by the fence and watched it because it was the time that Eric Lillybridge, Ernie Lillybridge Jr., Ernie Sr., and Stan Efferding were all squatting at the same time. Eric Spoto was benching.
Do you remember Derek Kendall?
Yes.
Derek Kendall did his overhead. He did 405 military press overhead for I think 10 or more reps.
Yeah.
And Josh Morris and Brandon Lilly benching. I remember that.
So I watched, I forget,
some
dude from California came in. I've never heard of him. And he came in.
You had Dan Green.
Dan Green was there. And say, you looked there, and I was just like,
it was everyone you looked up to.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Then you walked around and you're like, oh, I found Brandon Lilly. You can say Mark Bell. You'd run into him, Ed Cohen. I never got to meet Jim Wendler.
Me neither.
Because it was always Matt Vincent. So like we knew Matt Vincent was really good friends with us. I'm like, Matt, when's he coming? He's like, oh, he's not coming. But then later on, like Gray was like, hey, Jim posted that he's coming or something like that. But you have
always try to find Wendler, and we could never find him.
Yep. I say, who else? I mean, it's just everyone you looked up to. Pete Rubish. I mean, we got to meet Jeremy Hornstra. I met a couple times. Sam Bird. Back when he squatted were we there when he squatted 9?
I believe so. Yeah. Little Tommy Callis. But
Dan Bell.
Back before he blew up.
He was actually a replacement for someone. Like someone couldn't make it because it was a bad snowstorm, and they're like, "Hey Dan, can you come up and squat?" He's like, "Yeah, sure."
Now everyone knows Dan Bell.
Yeah, everyone knows. Well, he holds the total record, doesn't he?
Yeah. And Dan used to message me on Facebook all the time. Like we used to message all the time. He's awesome. But we could go on and on. I'm so happy we got to do this, but thank you everyone for sending in like topics and stuff, because I would have forgot so many of them. And like, I'm sorry, it's like an insider episode, but I love it. I love this guy. I'm telling you right now, 580 wouldn't exist without him. And I'm so happy you got to stop by. We haven't seen each other in person in years.
I say the last time was Pittsburgh Open, their first year that they had it over at Union Fitness.
2017.
Because it was funny because
it's 5 years since we saw it.
It was your first podcast.
Yeah. When Gray and I had a podcast back in college.
Yep. Because you even talked to Gray and you're like, I wonder if we're going to see Jordan there. And there I was, and I see you walk in with your big beard.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, I was just like, holy crap, he could actually grow facial hair.
Yeah. But thank you guys so much. And so I guess, Horsepower Watermelon's fully restocked. Check out our YouTube channel this week. to find out, and you can watch the whole thing of who ate the most calories. Who do you think is going to win? You met everyone now. You didn't meet Riley, but it doesn't matter. He's not going to win. I will say, let me just say real quick. So me, Nick, Frawley, Dante, the winner gets $100. If Riley wins, he gets $1,000. I'm giving him $1,000 if he wins. That's how confident I am that he's not going to win.
Yeah.
But who do you think's going to win of the four of us? You met everyone.
I heard your strategy, but I got to give it to one of the big boys. I'm getting Frawley or Nick.
Nick threw out a number at me that scared me.
Like, yeah.
He told me he's going to eat 17,000 calories. And I told him straight up, I said, if you hit 17,000, I'm not going to win.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to win. So I don't know, but be on the lookout for that. We got another one planned for like the 2 weeks after, not eating challenge, but a really funny strongman go and try video. I'm not going to release it yet, but it's going to be hilarious. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Instagram, 580 Barbell. And yeah, we'll see you guys for episode 71 of the 580 show. Thank you guys.
See you guys later.